Hello and welcome back. It's been another week, which means another Fallout episode, and this episode is halfway through the season, which is quite insane. And this is a big episode because we finally see the Deathclaw. And this episode opens with us having a flashback to Cooper's time in the US Army at Anchorage, or Alaska, shall I say. And we see the Deathclaw pre-war. And a lot of people assume they are post-war, but no, Deathclaws are actually a pre-war creation made by the US Army. It's the first time we've actually seen them in action, and it looks amazing. I'm really surprised how good the Deathclaw looks, and what I do think helps is that a lot of things in this show are very tactile still. It's all puppets and animatronics with CGI building on that, and because he did that with the Deathclaw in its two scenes this episode both look absolutely phenomenal. It feels more real than a just CGI monster. So I'm really excited we finally see the Deathclaw, but the actual plot of this episode, there are two major ones, two minor ones. The two major ones is that Maximus is destroying the Brotherhood and trying to escape. He's just gone full on scorch earth. And his plot just ends with the four Brotherhood factions just open firing on each other. I definitely do see that his faction, the Brotherhood, is going to be a villain now in the back half of the season and going forwards. And Maximus's whole storyline, it seems now, is about trying to get the cold fusion device. From what I see in the trailers, he wants to give it to someone good, which is Lucy. And he's not going to give it to the Commonwealth, or he could be giving it to the Commonwealth. I know he wants nothing to do with the Brotherhood after this episode, because even when he reveals that what Xander was going to do to those ghouls, his leader of his chapter of the Commonwealth immediately says they're abominations, and this leads to a big fight. Very good episode for Maximus, very good storyline for the Brotherhood. There's a bit of comedy with Thaddeus in the power armor, and everyone's trying to talk to him, thinking that he's the envoy from the Commonwealth. And that's just a really good scene. It's a really enjoyable plot for the Brotherhood. However, it's not the best. The best for me is the Lucy and Ghoul plot. So this starts with Lucy waking up after her crucifixion, and we very early find out Lucy's now an addict and addicted to Buff Out, which is really hardcore steroids. And it's very funny. The Ghoul's like, well, you could sit and deal with the withdrawals, or, better option, take more drugs. And Lucy just becomes a drug addict this episode. She's twitchy, and there's a scene where they get to Vegas, and the Ghoul's like, we should go around, and Lucy's like, nah, let's just kill them all. And you have a scene where Lucy's just absolutely destroying the ghoulified feral kings. Really amazing. There is one king that looks different to the rest. Maybe that is the king from the game. That'd be really interesting and very sad to see that's a game character dead. But it's still absolutely amazing just having drug addict Lucy. She's the best part of this entire episode. She really carries those scenes. She goes from being annoying at times to, I like her on drugs. Maybe they should keep Lucy on drugs. That should be an entire characteristic from now, that she's got a poop finger and she's now a drug addict. Really funny. The Ghoul's even joking about it. And it all leads to, they get into the strip. Everything's looking phenomenal. It looks different from the game, but it looks amazing. You get the Lucky 38, there's Gamora, the tops. It looks absolutely amazing. I just can't praise how the set design looks. And what really helps, as I mentioned, with the Deathclaw, everything is not just CGI. A lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, they are just green screens. This is a very tactile show where everything has an element of realness, and it's just enhanced with CGI, and you get some amazing sets in this episode. But going back to the actual what I wanted to talk about, is that the big reveal of the Deathclaw at the end of this episode, phenomenal. You have Lucy finding this massive egg and joking, oh, it's a big chicken. And you have the Ghoul almost silent, stood there in fear, knowing there's a Deathclaw about to come out of Gamora. And Lucy's over cocky, joking about it. And it's like, yeah, we can take this. And then when he walks out and stands up and like breaks the door as he stands up, it's so funny to see a close-up of Lucy's face and her eyes just unfocus and do a Pennywise where they go in different directions. Very funny. I really like the comedy in this episode. It's definitely the most funniest episode we've had of Fallout, and probably one of the greatest episodes as well. The Deathclaw is amazing. I just really like what they did with this main plot. Now, the second plots are back in California with the Vaults. You have Norm with everyone in Vault 31 and them just trying to survive, and so I mentioned there's Phase 2, which is set up something for Norm. And there's not much there, it's just a quick scene, but the other scenes are in Vault 32 and Vault 33. So it's clear that the Vault 33 Overseer is not going to be like the rest of the Vault 31 Overseers. She's been around long enough, and in a scene we see, she actually cares about the people in Vault 33, whereas the Vault 32 Overseer is still trying to continue Vault-Tech's plan. And we're seeing maybe there's going to be a civil war. What I originally thought was being Norm against the Vaults. What if it's Vault 32 against Vault 33? Because we now have people in Vault 32 suspecting the Overseer, as Chet finds a pre-war purse, and she's actually Canadian, which is not an individual country. In the Fallout universe, I think it's Canada and Mexico were both annexed by the US. So there's a bit of Fallout lore, which is really interesting. That what I think is going to happen now, my original idea was that the Vault 31ers and Norm would invade the Vaults, and then Norm would take over. I don't think that's happening. Norm's doing his own thing now with the Vault 31ers doing Phase 2. What I think is actually going to happen in Vault 32 and 33 is that Vault 33 and 32 are going to go to war with each other, because Vault 33 is failing, and the Overseer of Vault 33 has been around long enough to know that Vault-Tech is gone, and that she wants to protect the people, whereas the Vault 32 person, Overseer, I don't know their name, sorry, I think Vault 33 is Barb, but Vault 32, I'm going to call her Eye Patch Lady, she just doesn't care, she is still a Vault-Tech representative, so she is basically the villain of the storyline, and that's what I think is going to happen. There's going to be a civil war in the Vaults, and probably Norm's not going to be present for that. I do have to say, because there's a lot less storylines, I actually do care about the Vault storylines, because when we last saw them in episode 1, there was way too much going on, the pacing was terrible, and I just didn't care. Because there's only 2 major storylines, 2 small storylines, and a brief flashback, the pace in this episode is amazing. Everything has its room to breathe, even how small it is, it still has room to breathe. And I feel like I actually saw an episode which moved the story forwards instead of just doing side stuff like we're seeing this person doing absolutely nothing, we're seeing this person do absolutely nothing. Because episode 1 was like that. But episode 4 is really heavily moving 2 major storylines forwards and just pushing along the small B plots. I definitely think this episode has the best pacing. It has the most excitement in. This episode just has everything bigger and better. And I can't glaze this episode enough. So let's move over to my conclusion. I have to say, overall, Fallout Season 2 Episode 4 is a perfect episode. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. The Deathclaw is amazing. Everything looks amazing. It's the best paced episode. We have some great comedy with crackhead Lucy and Thaddeus pretending to be Xander. It's a really interesting episode, a big action-packed episode. And it's really got me excited for the back half of this season. So please tell me down below, what did you think about episode 4? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And do you think I'm overrating it, giving it a 10 out of 10? Or do you think that is spot on? Please tell me down in the comments. And thank you for listening.